Hi everyone, and welcome to another video tutorial by Nitro Cosplay. Today what we're going to be looking at is templates and cutting out our templates, and also in this video I'm going to be showing you how to transfer your template onto foam and then making that into an awesome prop. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay guys, so in front of us here we've actually got two templates. The first of which one you can see is the DVA template. This is the template I used to actually create a DVA light gun prop for another cosplayer. If you haven't seen that on my page, go and check it out and you can see what I managed to do from this simple basic template. Here we have a knife template. I'm going to provide this template for you guys, so if you want to make this knife along with me as I'll show you step by step how we're going to transfer this template onto foam and then also into a prop for you guys to actually have for your own cosplay, you can do that. So you need to download the image itself and then print it out. Make sure you're printing in landscape so you see the blades from corner to corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and cut this template out. I'm going to use a knife to cut this out, an X-Acto knife. You can use scissors if you want. So while I get cutting, I'm going to pause the video and come back to you guys in a minute. Just cut around the outside of the knife there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start breaking the template down already. So I'm going to cut across this line here. As you see, I've got my X-Acto blade there. So I'm just going to quickly take that there section off. Okay, so we've now got two sections to our template. We've got the actual knife blade and we've got the handle. So I'm going to put the knife blade over to one side for a second. I've got here a piece of 10mm thick EVA foam. This is the Polyprops foam, so it's smooth on both sides. You can use the textured floor mats for this, they are 10mm thick as well. So I'm just going to quickly pin my template onto this foam here. I just use little sewing pins to do this. Alright, so that's now in place. It's not going to move anywhere while I'm drawing around it. I'm just going to take a biro now and just simply trace around this section. So you don't have to be as quick as what I'm doing it. I'm just trying to be as quick as I can for the basis of the tutorial. Okay, so that's the first one done. Now for the next one you're going to want to flip the template. So you see I've turned the template over. Alright, this is especially important if you are using the textured floor mats because we will be gluing these two sections together. So I'm just going to quickly pin that in and I'll pause the video here. Okay, so I've now got both sides of the template drawn onto the foam. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the template and I'm going to be cutting out these circle sections. The reason I didn't do it to start off with is when you're tracing around this, by taking out these middle sections the paper becomes quite flimsy, so I like to get my base on first and then start breaking down the template. So I'm going to cut those out and I'll come back to you in a second. Cut out the circles and I've got it pinned on my foam already. You see I'm using a few pins there just to hold it into place, and we're just going to simply draw around these circles here. Okay, so we're just transferring what we have on the paper onto the foam. So that's one done. We just take the pins out. Right, and then we're just flipping the template again, line the template up, and then we're just pinning that onto this template. Okay, so now we've got both sides done. Next step, what we're going to do is we're going to take the knife section that we have here, and I'm going to be transferring that onto the foam as well, so we're just going to pin that on like so. Just a few pins in there to hold it in place. Now if you're using this foam here, you're only going to want one template. However, if you're going to be using the EVA floor mats, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to do one template this way and another template that way, and then you're going to have to sand off the textured side on both of those pieces, or take a knife and actually take that section off, because we don't want the blade to be 20mm thick, we only want it to be 10mm thick. So bear that in mind if you are following this tutorial using the floor mats, that you're going to need to be cutting that textured side off and then gluing two sections together. So now we've got our templates onto the foam, I'm going to cut these out. So I'll come back to you in a second once I've cut these out. If you need any help with cutting, I did do a little tutorial on cutting, so if you're unsure, go and check that out. Okay, so I've got the rough knife shape cut out. What I'm going to quickly show you is, for those of you that might think, oh, how'd you cut out them little triangles? So I turn it, so I'm holding the foam as it is. I take the craft knife, be very careful with your fingers when you're doing this, alright, and I'm just making a straight cut like that. A little bit difficult to try and show you on the camera, but I hope that makes sense to you guys out there. And then once we've done the straights, we can come in and we can then take out the angled section just like that, and you'll see the piece just pops off then. Alright, so there we go. It's 2 and 3. Remember guys, it's always very important to keep your knife as sharp as you possibly can. And then on to the last one. And then just straight down like that. Alright, and then, oh, there's always one, there we go. Alright, so that's how we take out that section, alright. I'll carry on cutting out the rest. 3 sections of foam now all cut out. I've got our blade and we've got our two handle sections. What we're going to do next is we're going to be gluing our two handle pieces together. Now, as you can probably see in mine, they line up fairly well, and they need a bit of work doing to them, but they're not too bad. So what I like to do is, just so I don't get confused and glue the wrong sections or anything like that, I like to put a big squiggle on there like that. So I'm just going to go and get some contact adhesive put on there. I did a video on using contact adhesive. You just want a thin layer on each side, let it to dry, and then glue the two pieces together. You can alternatively use hot glue or super glue, but say my glue of choice is contact adhesive, so I'm going to glue those on. Rightio, I've got my contact adhesive on there and that's now dry. So I'm going to glue these two sections together. Guys, don't forget, if you're using contact adhesive, make sure you've got a window open and wear a respirator, because it's got a lot of chemicals in there. Alright, so I'm just going to start at one end and slowly work my way towards the other, okay? And then we're just applying pressure like so. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but I've got just a tiny little lip where the two templates hasn't quite lined up. And I'm going to go and smooth in this edge here as well. I'm just going to do that with some wet and dry paper. I've got a sanding block to do that with, or if you've got a Dremel, you can go in and you can Dremel that section off using a sanding drum. Bear in mind, if you're dremeling, always go with the drum. You don't want to be going against that drum, because you will just take chunks out of the foam. It's something that you guys can practice with. So I'm going to hand sand this, just because it's probably something that most of you have got at home. So I'm going to go and give that a quick sand. Bit now sanded off, it's a lot smoother there. What I used for that was a 320 grit wet and dry paper. I just started here and working my way towards the tip. When you're doing the tip section, you don't want to be going against it, because you'll end up snagging it. So work towards that way, work round that way, and then do the knuckle section. At this point, you see it fits my hand quite well. If you've got bigger fingers than me, then go in with the sandpaper and just sand that section out. I didn't want to make them too big, because it might be too small for some people, or vice versa. So just make sure that your hands fit in there before we glue the before we get onto the knife section. Just make sure your fingers fit in through those sections. Okay, so onto the knife section. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a sharp blade. Please guys, make sure it is really sharp, and be very careful of your fingers at this point, okay? So we're just going to be taking the edge off, just to make it more of a blade effect, okay? It's quite hard because I've got the camera in the way, so I'm just taking a slice of the foam off as it was. Alright, be very careful with your fingers, alright? So we've worked one way, I've got a section off there, and then I'm going to work from the point then. Okay, so I'm working from the point. Again, be really careful with your fingers here. Alright, nice and slow. I can feel the blades already starting to get a little bit dull already. Alright, so that was just one side, and then we did exactly the same on the other side. It's just to take it down a little bit. Saves you sanding. You should be sanding there for forever otherwise. So that's just why we take that section there off. Okay. Finishing up on the sanding of the knife blade. And what you want is you want something that's looking something like that. So it's got a nice edge to it now, just on the one side, but it's still 10mm thick on the top. So once we've got that, all we're going to need to do now is just position it onto the knife itself. So find a position that you think looks right. I think somewhere about there looks good to me. We want it somewhere in the middle, which is this is 10mm, so it's going to be 5mm in from each side. Once you've got a position that you're happy with, just gently hold it there, get your biro pen and just draw around it. Okay, so we're just drawing around where we want the actual blade to go, at the top and at the bottom, so it's just there. Okay, because that's the section that we're going to want to join. As I said before, we don't want to be getting contact adhesive where we don't really want it, so that's why I always mark on with a pen where I'm going to be gluing and before I apply any contact adhesive. So we'll get some glue put onto that section. Again guys, make sure you've got a window open or you're wearing a face mask when handling the contact adhesive. So for this one here, I'm going to use my little red glue spatula that I've got. I've cut it into a taper, and then I'm just applying the contact adhesive onto that section that I've marked out. So just a nice thin coat on there. And then again onto this, onto the knife itself. A little bit too much there, so take that bit off. I'm just going to let that dry, and then we can glue the two pieces together. Don't forget to put the lid back on your contact adhesive when you're not using it so it doesn't go off. Okay, so I got a little bit carried away there after the glue had dried. I went ahead and stuck it on there. So all I've done is basically just stuck the knife head where we marked out before and glued. So there we have it. So let's add some little bits of detail to it. We'll go back to the template that we had before, and we're going to break down the template yet again. So we're just going to cut out this section here. So I'm using the X-Acto knife for cutting all of this out. You could use scissors, I suppose. I always find the X-Acto knife to be a little bit better. It's a little bit more precise than the scissors. You can see what you're doing better as well, I find, but each to their own. Okay, so now we've got that little section there out. So we're going to transfer that negative section now onto the, oh dear, throwing stuff around. We're going to transfer that negative section on there. We can use pins if you like, but again, because I'm filming for you guys, I am just going to go and just draw that straight on. Alright, so we've just got that marked on there. Just tidy that up. And then we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So don't forget to flip your template, otherwise it won't line up very well at all. There we go. So let's add some, we'll add another layer to it. Now you can use the craft sheets that we was talking about in one of the other videos, the bright pink I've got here. Or I'm going to dig out a piece of the Polyprops foam that I've got here. And we're just going to trace that onto a thinner piece of foam. So this is about 2 mil thickness. So we're just going to draw this piece on. Again, you can pin this onto the foam. But again, I'm just trying to do it quickly while I'm filming. So once we've got one, don't forget to flip the template for the other side. We'll draw that on, and then I'll get these cut out as well. Okay, so I've got those two pieces cut out. We're just going to make sure that they fit where we want them to. Which is quite good, yep. And then for the other side, just around the other way, that's it. Okay, so I'm just going to I'm going to use the other side of that one, so put a little squiggle on that one, flip that one, and so we're going to be using that side. Again, that's just so I don't glue the wrong pieces. I'm going to go ahead and apply some contact adhesive to both of those, and then we'll get those stuck on. Okay, and the last little bit now from me, let's adjust the camera as I moved it. The last little bit we're going to do now is just glue on these sections. So starting at the top, let's go down and do the other side. And then just give them a good squeeze, like that, so all the glue bonds. Okay, and there we have it. There is a quick, simple knife for you guys to go out and make if you choose to make one. As you see, what we've done is we started out of a paper template, we cut it out, we broke it down into sections, so the handle and the knife head. Then we went in and we thinned down the blade, and then we broke down the template again by cutting out this, which is a detail section. That's all you guys ever have to do when working off of templates. There we have it. There is your completed foam prop knife. If this was your first time working with EVA foam and you've got this far and it looks like this, well done. Congratulations to you on your first ever self-built foam prop. The next step with this would be to paint it, seal and paint it. You can use PVA glue to seal it. You can use spray seals or brush on seals and then apply paint afterwards. As you guys know, I like flexi paint. If you've watched any of my other videos, I'm a big fan of that stuff. So you can go ahead and paint that. They do a silver, so you could paint the blade silver. They do a brown, so you could paint this section brown. They do a gold, so you could paint that section gold perhaps, or paint it however you want to paint it. Do bear in mind when taking props to a convention or a photo shoot, do bear in mind that the general public might not know they are a foam prop, so always be careful, always be considerate of your surroundings and other people around you. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video tutorial, and if there is any comments or suggestions, please drop them down below. I'm always looking to improve not only my craftsmanship but also the video tutorials that I've just recently started doing, so please do let me know what you think of them, what I could do to improve perhaps, or what you'd like to see featured in another video. So I'll leave it there everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it and see you all soon.